Hey everyone, TwoBrainCell here, and today I'm bringing back an old series I had, TFT Fundamentals. I'm going to preface by saying that this video, as well as the rest of this series, is mostly going to be for newer or lower rated players. Everyone in Diamond Plus should know this information to varying degrees, but it never hurts to have a quick refresher. Today we're going to be talking about leveling, which is one of the most translatable concepts across TFT sets. Even from back in Season 4 when I started to take the game more seriously to now, leveling has stayed very consistent. So today we're going to dive into almost every iteration of leveling. We'll start with talking about leveling intervals, move into standard leveling and its iterations, which will take up the bulk of the video, and briefly cover the leveling scheme in 1 cost, 2 cost, and 3 cost reroll compositions. As always, I'll have screenshots of the images used in this video down below. Let's get into it. Let's start with the idea of leveling intervals, which put very simply are just rounds where it's ideal to use your money to get to the level. Now you may be wondering why these rounds and what makes them ideal. Well, a lot of TFT outside of the units and compositions themselves is a balancing act between keeping up in levels with the rest of the lobby and maintaining a strong enough economy to roll later. Level too aggressively and you fracture your economy, making it difficult to reach the later levels. Level too conservatively, such as reaching 50 gold and only buying XP above that mark, and you take way too much damage from your opponent's superior numbers. Another reason why these rounds are chosen is because, as most of you know, you naturally gain 2 XP per round, while also being able to purchase 4 XP for 4 gold. As such, there will naturally be rounds where the remaining XP left to purchase is not divisible by 4, and leveling on those rounds results in a waste of 2 gold. We call those rounds off interval and the rounds where the remaining XP is perfect on interval rounds. Finally, a general rule of thumb is that after level 5, you want to be able to get to the next level while maintaining at least 30 gold. This is because above that mark of 30 gold, it's very easy to get back to the max interest of 50 gold in 2 turns, whereas below that mark usually requires at least 4 turns. Let's move into standard leveling, which is the general leveling scheme you go for when you're thinking about playing for a tier 4 carry in the late game. So comps like Xayah, Deja, Graves, Siphon, etc., all want to use this leveling scheme. Here we have the general structure and intervals which standard leveling is based around. On 2-1, you'll naturally be level 3 with 2 out of 6 XP, which makes it a perfect time to spend 4 gold and get to level 4. Subsequently, on 2-5, you'll be level 4, 6 out of 10 EXP, which is a good time to go level 5. I won't get into the exact XP values, and you don't really have to think about it that much for each interval, but like we said earlier, these intervals are chosen because you can reach the next level without wasting gold, while also maintaining a healthy economy. As we move on to the different variations of standard leveling, I like to think of it as a branching decision tree. At every one of these intervals, you should try and ask yourself questions like what you achieve when you level, whether or not your economy can handle you leveling, and how much HP you save if you do. This will obviously take some time, experience, as well as good scouting to get right, but it's a good way to get yourself constantly thinking about your decision making. Taking a look at the Winstreak version of standard leveling, and you notice that I've listed a couple of off-interval rounds, namely 2-3 and 3-1. At maximum win streak, which is 4 plus wins in a row, you make an extra 3 gold of interest, which is enough to offset the loss of interest from leveling early. And one of the best ways to ensure winning a round is to have a unit advantage over your opponent. Think about it this way. New Recruit, which lets you put in an extra unit, is a prismatic augment, so being a level up against your opponent is like being up a prismatic against them. One thing to note is that at any point if you lose, you can switch back into standard leveling. So for example, if you level to 5 on 2-3, but you end up losing, then just go back to leveling to 6 on 3-2 instead of 3-1. Variations like that are what make it a decision-making tree, right? And at every point, based on what happens, you have to make a new decision that puts you in the most advantageous spot possible. Moving into leveling on a lose streak, you notice that this structure consistently puts you a level down against those who are standard leveling. Since lose streaking gives you the same economic benefit as win streaking, purposely losing every round in stage 2 not only gives you the added streak gold, but also allows you to make your econ intervals 20, 30, 40, etc. with the money that you save from leveling. And it's not uncommon to see top players have greater than 50 gold at Krugs using this strategy. Situations where you can think about employing this tactic include when you don't hit any of your 2 stars early, when you don't have any slammable items, or when you get a gold start, where you get 10 to 12 gold from the first 3 rounds of neutrals, but only have 2 total item components. One thing to point out is that you're sacrificing your HP in order to jumpstart your economy, which often results in you having to level to 7 on 3-5 and rolling for a late game carry. You don't necessarily have to 2-star it, but you try and fill out your board so that you feel stable enough to save up and go level 8. Finally, as mentioned before, all of these leveling structures are fluid and you can change from one to the other depending on the game. I'm going to show you two such situations, but keep in mind that it can happen at any interval. One such situation is going from a standard leveling structure into a Losestreak one. Let's say you feel decently strong on 2-1, so you level to 4, but you proceed to lose the first 3 rounds. On 2-5, you scout your opponents and see that they're of similar strength to you. Nobody is really going for a full Losestreak. One strategy you can utilize is to purposely not level to 5 on 2-5, guaranteeing a loss in the next 2 rounds and moving into Krugs on a 5-loss streak. This strategy will allow you to maintain a streak while again letting you focus on making the all-important economy intervals. As you can see, even within this structure, there are still a lot of choices. Do you level to 7 on 3-5 and roll to save HP, or have you a natural to strong enough board to hold on until you get to level 8? Is your econ good enough to get to level 8 on 4-2, or do you have to do so on 4-5 so you have enough money to roll for your late game board? These are the sorts of questions you should be asking yourself as early as 3-1 so that you can map out what your path to the late game is going to look like. Finally, let's take a look at a situation where you go from a Losestreak structure to a Winstreak one. Let's say you don't hit any early 2-stars, and so you try and go for a Losestreak leveling structure. However, you accidentally beat someone on 2-3, and then on 2-5, maybe you hit a couple of 2-stars, or maybe you scout and see that the people in your rotation are beatable, especially if you level for another unit. A strategy you can use in this situation is to level twice on 2-5, so you can get to level 5 and try to get a 3 streak going into Krugs. If that works and you get a strong upgrade, or you get lucky and you roll a dragon like Deja, maybe you can now follow the Winstreak structure, level to 6 on 3-1, and try to win out the rest of stage 3. And, if the converse, if it doesn't go well, you can just follow a standard structure and get to level 6 on 3-2. As I've said many times already, keep on thinking about your situation in the game, what leveling or not leveling does for you, and the different options that you have. Doing so will make this come a lot more naturally to you until it's almost second nature, and it will make the game as a whole feel a lot more fluid. Moving into the reroll leveling scheme, I'm not going to talk about this too much because reroll comps aren't really as prevalent during this set, but it's still good knowledge to have. One cost reroll comps are centered around staying as low level as possible so that you have the best odds of hitting your one cost unit. And you'll see that it looks very similar to our Losestreak structure, so pairing the two together and trying to lose all of stage 2 to maximize the amount you can roll is a good choice. The only quick caveat is that oftentimes players will roll on 3-1 when you're still level 4 to take advantage of the 55% chance for one cost versus the 45% chance at level 5. The general rule is that if you have 5 plus copies of a unit you're looking for, you should roll all your gold to find it. And if you have less than that, consider rolling to 33 gold and reevaluate, because that's the amount where you can get back to 50 gold in 2 turns regardless of streak. 2-cost reroll comps are pretty uncommon right now. The most popular one is maybe Yone reroll or Kaisa reroll, but both of those are extremely situational, and I definitely wouldn't say they're optimal. But basically, the comp follows as getting to level 6 while maintaining as healthy HP as possible, and rolling above 50 gold on level 6 until you hit your 2-star, your 3-star 2-cost unit. Finally, 3-cost reroll comps are probably the most played right now because of the popularity of Olaf. The structure follows that of the standard one, with the option of leveling to 7 on 3-5 to 2-star your carry to stabilize, or leveling on 4-1 instead if you're already stable to maximize econ. From there, you should scout to see if you're contested, and either decide to stay on level 7, which gives you the best odds to roll for a 3-cost unit, to roll for 3-star versions of your carries, or to level to 8 to stabilize and maybe play for a top 4. Thank you everybody for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this educational content, and I'll be back with another video on TFT fundamentals soon.